My daughter-in-law lied that I stole her jewelry, but her secret exposed her in public. I never thought I'd live to see the day when someone I welcomed into my home, someone I loved like my own blood, would stand before my family and call me a thief. But that's exactly what happened. And in that moment, as her accusations rang through the air like poison, I learned a hard truth. Sometimes the people we shelter from the storm are the very ones who invite the lightning in. I didn't know it then, but her lies would become her undoing. Because the truth, my dear, always finds its way home. Welcome back, my dear. This is Grandma Alice Stories, where every tale carries a lesson wrapped in love, pain, and the kind of wisdom only time can teach. Pour yourself some tea, settle into your favorite chair, and come close, because today's story isn't easy to tell, but it needs to be told, because life has its own way of balancing the scales, and sometimes justice wears the quietest shoes. I raised my son, Daniel, with my own 2 hands. His father passed when Daniel was just 7, and from that day forward, it was the 2 of us against the world. I worked double shifts at the diner, scrubbed floors on my knees, and stretched every dollar until it begged for mercy. But I never let him see me cry. I wanted him to grow up strong, kind, and honest. And he did. Oh, how proud I was the day he graduated college, the first in our family to do so. I sat in that auditorium with tears streaming down my face, thinking, we made it. All those years of struggle were worth it. When Daniel brought Vanessa home 5 years ago, I wanted so badly to love her. She was polished, elegant, always dressed like she'd just stepped out of a magazine. Her nails were perfect. Her hair never had a strand out of place. She wore jewelry that caught the light in ways I'd only seen in store windows. I'll admit, I felt a little small next to her. My hands were rough from years of hard work. My home was modest, and my wardrobe consisted of the same 3 church dresses I'd been rotating for a decade. But I told myself it didn't matter. Love doesn't live in appearances. It lives in actions. So I opened my home to her. I taught her my mother's recipes. I knitted her a blanket for their first Christmas together. I babysat when they needed date nights. I thought we were building something beautiful, a family bond that would last generations. But looking back now, I see the signs I missed. The way she'd glance around my living room with that tight little smile. The way she'd check her phone when I was talking. The way she never quite met my eyes when she said, "Thank you, Mom. I should have known." But love makes us blind to things we don't want to see. It was a Thursday afternoon in late September when everything shattered. I remember because I just finished baking an apple pie for Daniel's birthday dinner that weekend. The smell of cinnamon still hung in the air when I heard the car door slam outside. Hard. Angry. I looked out the window and saw Vanessa storming up my walkway. Her face twisted in rage. My stomach dropped. Something was wrong. She didn't knock. She burst through my front door like a hurricane in heels. "Where is it?" she demanded, her voice shaking with fury. I stood there in my kitchen, flour still on my apron, completely confused. "Where is what, dear? What's wrong?" "My jewelry," she screamed. "My diamond necklace, my emerald earrings, the bracelet my mother gave me. They're gone. And you were the only one in our house last week." The room started spinning. I gripped the counter to steady myself. "Vanessa, sweetheart, I don't know what you're talking about. I would never. Don't lie to me." She stepped closer, her finger jabbing the air between us. "You were there Tuesday afternoon when I was at work. Daniel said you came by to water the plants while we were gone. No one else had access. It had to be you." My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. "I did water your plants, yes, but I didn't take anything. I would never steal from you. From anyone." Her laugh was cold, bitter. "Right? Because you don't need money, is that it? Living in this tiny house, wearing the same clothes year after year, driving that ancient car." She looked around my home with disgust. "You saw my things and couldn't help yourself. Could you? Couldn't stand that your son married someone who actually has nice things. Each word was a knife. But what hurt most was the sound of footsteps behind her. I looked past Vanessa and saw Daniel standing in my doorway. My son. My beautiful boy who I'd sacrificed everything for. And on his face, doubt. "Mom," he said quietly, and that single word broke something inside me. Did you maybe borrow them? Maybe you needed money and were going to pawn them?" Couldn't breathe. My own son was questioning me. The woman who'd gone hungry so he could eat was being accused of theft by the family I'd tried so hard to love. "Daniel," I whispered, my voice cracking. "You know me. You know I would never." "I don't know what to think anymore," he said, running his hand through his hair. He looked exhausted, torn. "Vanessa is hysterical. Those pieces were worth thousands. And you were there. You had access." Vanessa crossed her arms, satisfied. "I want them back by tomorrow, or I'm calling the police. And everyone in this family will know exactly what kind of woman you really are." They left. Just like that. My son and his wife walked out of my home, leaving me standing there in my kitchen with the smell of apple pie in the air and accusations hanging like smoke. I sank into my chair and stared at my hands. These old, worn hands that had never stolen a thing in 73 years of living. The next few days were torture. Vanessa made sure everyone knew. She called my sister, Daniel's cousins, our church friends. She told them all that I was a thief, that I'd stolen from her, that I couldn't be trusted. The whispers followed me everywhere. At the grocery store, I saw Mrs. Henderson from my prayer group quickly turn down another aisle when she spotted me. At church that Sunday, people who'd known me for decades suddenly had somewhere else to be when I approached. I wanted to scream. I wanted to defend myself. But I've lived long enough to know that sometimes silence is the strongest weapon. So I prayed. I waited. And I watched. Because something didn't sit right with me. Vanessa's performance had been too perfect, too rehearsed. And the way she'd looked at me when she made her accusations. There was something behind her eyes. Not just anger. Fear. She was hiding something and I was her scapegoat. I just didn't know what yet. That night, as I sat alone in my quiet house, I made myself a promise. I wouldn't fight her with anger or accusations. I would wait for the truth to reveal itself. Because lies, no matter how carefully constructed, always have cracks. And light always finds a way through. What I didn't know then was that Vanessa's secret was bigger than I could have imagined. And it was about to explode in the most public way possible. But that truth was still 2 weeks away. And those would be the longest 2 weeks of my life. They say silence is golden. But let me tell you something. Dear, silence can also be the heaviest burden you'll ever carry. For 2 weeks, I lived under the shadow of a lie I didn't create, watching my world crumble one whisper at a time. But I held my tongue. Not because I was weak. Not because I had given up. But because I knew something they didn't. The truth doesn't need a defense attorney. It just needs time. And patience. And a little bit of faith that what's done in darkness will always come to light. Welcome back, my dear ones. This is Grandma Alice Stories, and if you're just joining us, go back and listen to chapter 1 first, because the story builds like a storm, slow and steady, before it breaks. Today, I'm taking you deeper into those dark days when I was labeled a thief by my own family. Grab your tea, take a breath, and walk with me through the valley. Because sometimes we have to go through the darkness to appreciate the light on the other side. The morning after Vanessa's accusation, I woke up feeling like I'd aged 10 years overnight. My bones ached, not from arthritis, but from the weight of injustice. I made my coffee, same as always, but it tasted bitter. Everything did. I sat at my kitchen table and stared at the phone, half expecting it to ring. Maybe Daniel would call. Maybe he'd come to his senses and realize his mother wasn't a thief. Maybe he'd say, "Mom, I'm sorry. I should have believed you." But the phone stayed silent. Instead, it rang later that afternoon, and the voice on the other end wasn't my son's. It was my sister, Margaret. Alice, she said, her tone careful, measured. I heard about the situation with Vanessa's jewelry. My heart sank. And you're calling to ask if I did it? No, she said quickly. No, Alice, I know you. I wanted to make sure you're okay. People are talking. Let them talk, I said, though my voice wavered. I've done nothing wrong. I believe you, Margaret said softly. But Alice, maybe you should just, I don't know, try to smooth things over? Apologize even if you didn't do it? Just to keep the peace. I closed my eyes. Even my own sister was suggesting I bow down to a lie for the sake of convenience. I can't do that, Margaret. If I apologize for something I didn't do, I'm saying I'm guilty. And I won't carry that. She sighed. I understand. I just hate seeing you hurt like this. We said our goodbyes, but after I hung up, I sat in that chair for an hour, staring at nothing. The loneliness was crushing. I've lived through poverty, through loss, through grief. But this betrayal from the people I loved most, it was a different kind of pain. The kind that settles in your chest and makes it hard to breathe. Days turned into a week. I stopped going to church. I couldn't bear the stares, the whispers behind hands, the sudden silences when I entered a room. Mrs. Patterson, who I'd known for 30 years, crossed the street when she saw me coming. The cashier at the grocery store, a sweet girl named Emma who always asked about Daniel, avoided eye contact and rushed through my transaction like I carried some contagious disease. I became a ghost in my own community. But the worst part? Daniel stopped calling, stopped visiting. It had been 9 days since that terrible afternoon, and my son, my only child, my entire world, had cut me off completely. I'd left him voicemails, sent text messages, each one unanswered, each silence another crack in my already broken heart. On the 10th day, I finally received a text from him. Just 3 words, Mom, I need space. I read those words over and over until they blurred through my tears. Space. He needed space from the woman who'd given him everything. From the mother who'd worked herself to the bone so he could have a better life than she did. Space. I wanted to scream. I wanted to drive to his house and pound on the door until he listened. But I didn't, because forcing someone to believe you is like trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you grip, the more it slips away. So I gave him his space. And I waited. During those dark days, I did a lot of thinking and praying. And something else, I started paying attention. Because Vanessa's accusation kept replaying in my mind, and the more I thought about it, the more things didn't add up. She'd said I was the only one with access to their house. But that wasn't true. Daniel had mentioned that Vanessa's brother, Marcus, had stayed with them for a few days that same week. And their cleaning lady came every Thursday. And Vanessa herself had thrown a small gathering for her book club the weekend before. Any number of people could have been in that house. So why me? Why was I the immediate suspect? Then I remembered something else. A conversation I'd overheard months ago when I was at their house for dinner. I'd gone to the bathroom, and on my way back, I heard Vanessa on the phone in the bedroom. Her voice was hushed, urgent. I hadn't meant to eavesdrop, but I caught fragments. I can't keep doing this. I need more time. No, he doesn't know. At the time, I'd assumed it was work stress. Maybe a difficult client or a project deadline. But now, standing in my kitchen with the pieces scattered before me, I wondered, what was she hiding? The phone call came on day 13. It was Daniel's cousin, Rebecca, a sweet girl who'd always been fond of me. Aunt Alice, she said, her voice tight with emotion. I need to tell you something, but you have to promise not to say I told you. My pulse quickened. Of course, sweetheart. What is it? It's about Vanessa. Rebecca paused, and I could hear her breathing, nervous. I was at a restaurant last week with some friends, and I saw her there. She was with a man I didn't recognize. They were at a corner table, and Alice, she was showing him jewelry. taking pieces out of her purse and handing them to him. He was examining them with one of those little magnifying glasses, like a jeweler would. My hand tightened on the phone. What did the man look like? Older, maybe 50s? He had a briefcase. It looked like a business transaction. She gave him the jewelry, and he gave her an envelope. Probably cash. My mind was racing. Did she see you? No, I don't think so. I left quickly because it felt weird, you know? But Alice, if she was selling her own jewelry, why would she accuse you of stealing it? I knew why. Oh, I knew exactly why. She needed a cover story. She'd sold her jewelry, probably to pay for something she couldn't tell Daniel about. And when he inevitably asked to see those pieces or noticed they were missing, she'd need someone to blame. Someone vulnerable. Someone who couldn't fight back. She'd chosen me. Thank you, Rebecca, I said quietly. Thank you for telling me. Are you going to confront her? No, I said, surprising myself with how calm I sounded. Not yet, but the truth will come out. It always does. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling the pieces click into place. Vanessa was in trouble. Financial trouble, maybe, or something worse. And she'd thrown me under the bus to save herself. Part of me wanted to call Daniel right then and there, to tell him what Rebecca had seen. But something stopped me, because even if I told him, would he believe me? His wife's word against his mother's, with no proof except a second-hand account from his cousin? No, I needed to wait. I needed the truth to reveal itself in a way that couldn't be denied. 3 days later, the invitation arrived in the mail. Daniel and Vanessa were hosting a family gathering to celebrate Daniel's promotion at work. A big party. Everyone would be there, aunts, uncles, cousins, family, friends. Even me, though I suspected Vanessa had fought against including my name on that list. I held the invitation in my trembling hands and felt something shift inside me. This was it. This was where everything would come together. I didn't know exactly how the truth would reveal itself, but I could feel it coming, like thunder in the distance before the rain. I was going to that party, and I was going to watch Vanessa's carefully constructed lies crumble before everyone's eyes. Because karma, my dear, always keeps its appointments. And this one was long overdue. There's a moment in every story when the scales begin to tip. When the lies someone has carefully stacked like a house of cards start to tremble. When justice stops being a prayer and becomes a presence in the room. That moment came for me at my son's party, on a Saturday evening in October, under the glow of string lights and the weight of watching eyes. I walked into that gathering wearing my dignity like armor, not knowing that within the hour, the truth would explode in the most spectacular way possible. Sometimes God doesn't whisper justice. Sometimes he shouts it. The morning of the party, I stood in front of my closet for 20 minutes, trying to decide what to wear. Not because I cared about impressing anyone, but because I needed to feel strong. I finally chose my navy dress, the one I wore to Daniel's college graduation. The one that had seen me through proud moments. I needed that energy, that memory of better days. I looked at myself in the mirror, and for a moment, I didn't recognize the woman staring back. She looked tired, older. Her eyes carried a sadness that hadn't been there a month ago. But beneath that sadness, there was something else. Resolve. I hadn't broken. I'd bent, yes, under the weight of lies and betrayal. But I hadn't broken. You're going to hold your head high, I said to myself. No matter what happens tonight. The party was at Daniel and Vanessa's house. A beautiful 2-story home in the nicer part of town. String lights adorned the backyard. Tables were set with elegant centerpieces, and soft music played from hidden speakers. Vanessa had outdone herself. Everything looked perfect. Too perfect. I arrived deliberately late. Not fashionably late, but strategically late. I wanted people to already be settled, drinks in hand, guards down. When I walked through that back gate, conversations paused. Heads turned. I felt the weight of their stares, their judgment, their curiosity. The woman accused of theft had dared to show her face. Vanessa was the first to spot me. She was near the bar, laughing with some friends, wearing a stunning red dress and jewelry that caught every bit of light. When our eyes met, her smile froze. For just a second, I saw panic flash across her face. But she recovered quickly, like the skilled performer she was. "Alice," she said, her voice dripping with false warmth as she approached me. "I'm so glad you could make it. Wouldn't miss celebrating my son's success," I replied calmly, my voice steady. Daniel appeared at her side, and my heart squeezed. My boy, my beautiful boy who'd stopped calling his mother. He looked uncomfortable, caught between the two women in his life. "Hey, Mom," he said quietly, leaning in for an awkward hug that felt more like obligation than affection. "Congratulations on your promotion, sweetheart," I said, holding on to him a moment longer than he expected. "I'm proud of you. Always have been." Something flickered in his eyes. Regret? Maybe? Guilt? But Vanessa's hand on his arm pulled him back to her orbit. "Well, help yourself to food and drinks," Vanessa said to me, her smile tight. "Mingle. Enjoy yourself." As they walked away, I heard her whisper something to him, and his shoulders tensed. I knew what she was saying. I could practically hear it. "Why did you invite her? How could you, after what she did?" But I wasn't there to cause a scene. I was there to exist, to show them that false accusations couldn't erase me, and to wait because I could feel it in my bones. Something was coming. An hour passed. I made small talk with relatives who were polite but distant. I ate food I couldn't taste. I watched Vanessa work the crowd like a politician's wife, charming everyone, playing the gracious hostess. She was good at this. Too good. Then Daniel's cousin, Marcus, not Vanessa's brother, but another Marcus from my side of the family, arrived. He was a jeweler, ran a small but respected shop downtown. I'd forgotten he was coming. But the moment Vanessa saw him walk through the gate, her face went pale. "Marcus," Daniel called out, waving him over. "Glad you could make it, man." Marcus greeted everyone warmly, making his rounds. When he got to Vanessa, he gave her a friendly hug. "Great party, Vanessa. You look amazing. Love the necklace. Is that new?" She touched it reflexively, her smile strained. "Oh, this? It's been in my collection for a while." Marcus leaned in slightly, his professional eye drawn to the piece. "May I?" He gestured toward the necklace, and before Vanessa could stop him, he was examining it closer, that natural jeweler's instinct kicking in. His expression changed. Subtly at first, then more obviously. His eyebrows drew together. He tilted his head, studying the stones under the outdoor lighting. "These are cubic zirconia," he said, almost to himself. Then louder, with genuine confusion. "Vanessa, these aren't real diamonds." The conversations around us began to fade. People were listening now. Vanessa's laugh was high-pitched, nervous. "What? No, that's impossible. These are—" "I'm certain," Marcus interrupted gently but firmly. "I've been doing this for 25 years. These are high-quality CZ, very convincing, but definitely not diamonds." He looked at her earrings, then her bracelet. "Actually, all of your jewelry tonight appears to be costume pieces. Very good imitations, but not real." The silence that fell over that backyard was deafening. Daniel stared at his wife, confusion written all over his face. "Vanessa, what's he talking about? Those pieces were—" "Those are the ones from your grandmother, right? The ones worth thousands." Vanessa's face had gone from pale to bright red. "He's wrong. He's mistaken. These are real, Daniel. I sold you those CZ pieces 3 weeks ago," Marcus continued, his voice apologetic but truthful. "You came into my shop. You needed costume jewelry that looked expensive. You were very specific about that. I remember because you paid in cash and seemed nervous. Why would you need fake jewelry?" Daniel asked, his voice rising. Where are your real pieces? Where's your grandmother's necklace? The earrings? He stopped, and I watched realization dawn across his face like a terrible sunrise. The jewelry you accused my mother of stealing? Vanessa's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. You sold them, didn't you? Daniel's voice cracked. You sold your jewelry and then blamed my mother to cover it up? Daniel, I can explain. Vanessa reached for him, but he stepped back. Where did the money go? He demanded. What did you need money for so badly that you'd destroy my mother's reputation? That you'd make me doubt the woman who raised me? Tears were streaming down Vanessa's face now, her perfect facade shattered. I have a gambling problem, she whispered. Online poker. I got in over my head. I owed people, Daniel. Dangerous people. I didn't know what else to do. I sold the jewelry to pay them off, and when you started asking about the pieces, I panicked. I needed someone to blame, and your mother. She was there. She was convenient. The gasps from the crowd were audible. People were whispering now, phones out, some recording this meltdown in real time. Daniel looked like he'd been struck. He turned slowly and found me in the crowd. Our eyes met, and I saw my son truly see me for the first time in weeks. The shame on his face broke and healed me simultaneously. Mom, he choked out, pushing past people to reach me. Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I should have believed you. I should have trusted you. I pulled my son into my arms and held him while he wept. 73 years old, and I was still holding my baby boy, teaching him life's hardest lessons. It's okay, I whispered, though we both knew it wasn't. Not yet, but it would be. That night, as I drove home under a blanket of stars, I felt lighter than I had in weeks. The truth had done what truth always does. It revealed itself at precisely the right moment, in precisely the right way. Vanessa's lies had unraveled in front of everyone who'd believed her. My name was cleared. My son had come back to me. But here's what I learned. My dear, vindication doesn't always feel like victory. It feels like relief, like exhaling after holding your breath underwater. Justice isn't always loud and dramatic. Sometimes it's simply the quiet restoration of truth. Vanessa and Daniel divorced 6 months later. She got help for her addiction. Daniel and I rebuilt what her lies had damaged, brick by careful brick. And me? I learned that my reputation doesn't live in what people say about me. It lives in who I am when no one's watching. Because at the end of the day, the truth doesn't need me to defend it. It just needs me to live it. And that, my dear ones, is the greatest lesson of all. If this story touched your heart, if Grandma Alice's words gave you strength or made you feel less alone, then please subscribe to this channel. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a story. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, someone who's been lied about, betrayed, or made to feel small. Leave a comment below and tell me. Have you ever been falsely accused? How did you handle it? I read every single comment, and your stories matter to me. Remember, my dear, what goes around always comes around. And the truth never stays buried forever. Until next time, this is Grandma Alice, reminding you to keep your heart soft and your spine strong. Subscribe, share, and stay blessed. See you in the next story.